Hey there, and Happy New Year. This is Lucas Catton with my first video of this year. And picking up where some of the things left off before, there was actually a great sign. I'm somebody who's recently been, not recently, but for quite a while, been interested in looking for and receiving signs in general for things that I'm either moving in the right direction or that things should or shouldn't be, or kind of playing on to listening to some of internal intuition. And it was interesting because if you know about the podcast I started, the Support for Guys podcast, you know that the main reason for it is to encourage deeper conversation, especially among men, because we have a tendency to not go there usually. We talk about things that are more surface oriented and maybe not as meaningful as a whole, but it's not because we don't want to. Many times it's because we're not sure how or who to talk to or how it will be received, or fear of judgment, or all these other things. And so it was interesting. The other day I was driving home and I was scrolling through looking for some podcasts to listen to, and came across Jay Shetty. And he had one that was called Small Talk Should Be Banned. And it was great. I was like, this is perfect. I already know without even listening to it yet. This is right along the line of kind of backing up the purpose for my podcast and what we're doing with Support for Guys. And sure enough, he got into it and he talked about all these great things about the benefits of having, eliminating a lot of the small talk that we typically engage in that fills a lot of dead air, but maybe not. Doesn't have a whole lot of significance or purpose in our lives. And it's kind of funny because I find myself being really awkward in like parties or get-togethers or social settings sometimes, because I don't often know how to just shoot the shit at times. I have to be kind of like ready for it or in the mood or somehow mentally prepared to do that. Not that I can't hang out or just talk about sports or that kind of thing, but I have a tendency to and really enjoy going into deeper conversation, getting to know people more, finding out more about their past and where they want to go, their likes and dislikes, and something that they might be troubled with or that I might be troubled with, and kind of connect that way. So I started listening to Jay's talk, and he brought up a great thing, some different studies and research that shows why. And it was kind of funny because one of the things he said is, and I'm probably misquoting this, but he talked about that relationships that start off with deeper conversation, like on the first date, have a greater percentage of falling in love or something like that. And it was funny because my wife and I, on our first date, I just I vomited all this information at her about my past and where things were, and somehow she gracefully accepted that, and we got into a wonderful conversation that has continued on for many years now. And it was funny that he said that, because that was immediately where I thought it was like, we didn't really have any small talk. We just jumped straight into, this is who I am, this is what I'm looking for, kind of thing. And it was wonderful. So we continued on from there, and he brought up this company called Irrational Labs, and how they go into encouraging more behavioral type research, and they have come up with a series of questions to use at events and corporate things and conventions and all that kind of stuff to build deeper connection with people. And so Jay shared some of his favorite questions that Irrational Labs brought up, and it was great because again it was continuing on to talk about the human need for connection, and how by asking good questions and being honest with our answers and honest with ourselves, how we would answer them, and also with other people, and getting that in return, that we're able to have longer lasting relationships. And he specifically shared a powerful retreat or something that he had been to with lots of different people there, and they weren't allowed to engage in any small talk at all. They had to go straight into these questions provided by Irrational Labs. And that during that time, he made some wonderful friends that have remained friends ever since by getting straight into the meat and getting to know each other more. that way. So it was great. So I'm going to put a link to the site for Irrational Labs and some of their questions, and encourage you to go there and check it out. I'm also going to put a link to Jay Shetty's podcast about banning small talk. And I'll share another link to Support for Guys podcast. We actually had our first actual guest on this week, and Mary Harris and I talked about religion and spirituality and metaphysics and having deeper discussion and more meaning in life and more connection. So I look forward to more guests coming up in 2020. I look forward to more meaningful conversation, and I would love to hear from you. I have a big announcement coming up either later this week or next week as well. And, again, I'd love to hear from you. Go to lucascatton.com and check it out. Check out the podcast, check out some of the videos, send me a note, and let's connect. That's all for now. See you later.